Can you guys start to see a trend? Myself, Neil, Ryan, so many people have been talking about social media. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the future. Okay, now we're going into breakout sessions. The next about hour we'll go to, well, about 45 minutes we'll go to different breakout sessions right here on the main stage. We'll have building relationships in a down market with the man, the myth, the beautiful hair himself. Mr. Todd will be right here on this stage. Downstairs in breakout room number 2, we'll have 10X Your Realtors with affiliate partners with Alicia Romo, who just joined Shred U. Very excited to have her. Breakout room number 3, I Provide Referrals by Karen Enslin. So if you want to go to those ones, go downstairs now. We're running a few minutes behind, so make your way down to those. And if you want to hang out with Todd Bitter, ladies and gentlemen, he's one of the absolute best, one of the top LOs in the industry. Welcome to the stage, Mr. Todd Bitter.
Okay, my phone is going over here, so anybody don't get the smart idea that you're going to call me and I don't answer my damn phone. I'm a little busy right now. For those of you who don't know that, that's my tagline, answer your damn phone. So I want to talk about building relationships in a down market. Anybody think that we're in a down market right now? Yeah, of course we are. Rates are high, business is off a little bit, and this is the time. Just like Barry and Matt said this morning, this is the time that you make new relationships. This is the time you put your foot on the gas pedal, and this is when you grind it out. Absolutely. At the end of this year, we're going to see a mass exodus of loan officers not renewing their MLS license. And what that means for everybody in this room is it creates opportunities for you to go out and capture that business that they were capturing the last couple years, and then they failed this year. So don't lose sight, just because rates are high right now, this is when you can really make a difference. Now, in 2000, I've been in this business since 95, so I'm going on 27, actually just got past my 27th anniversary. I'm an old guy in the business. In 2008, we watched the entire industry melt down. Anybody that wasn't in the business in 2008, it's probably like when I was a little kid and I heard about the moon landing or something. Like, I wasn't old enough to remember it. A lot of people in this room weren't in the business to know what 2008 was like. You've heard all these myths and all these stories about how crazy it was. It was bad. I mean, it was as bad as it gets. We literally lost every subprime lender we had, which was a huge chunk of the market at that time. We lost our PMI companies for a while. We literally only had clean conventional business with 20% down to sell for a period of time during that crisis. We had some FHA and VA, but those were even tough at the time because back then you couldn't do FHA unless you had the proper licenses, and small brokers like me couldn't get it. So in 2008 and 2009, I was faced with clean conventional 20% down business, which everybody was fighting for that. The banks, the loan officers that were left. And it changed my whole outlook on the business. It changed my life. From 95 until 2008, I was a subprime refi guy only. I did a couple loans a year that were purchases. I hated realtors. I was in that mentality that realtors were the devil. They sucked. They got in our lane. They told us what to do. We hated them, right? Well, back then, we didn't really have to because we had all that subprime refi stuff. You could cash people out to go on vacation, get jet skis, whatever they wanted to do, and it was easy. They didn't have to have jobs. They didn't have to have credit. It was like literally you'd stick a mirror under their nose, and if they had a breath, you could get them a loan. It made us all lazy prior to 2008. When all that went away, a lot of loan officers fled the business, and I'll be honest with you, I thought about it for a minute too because it was really tough. I went from making a couple $100,000 a year in 2007 to, I think in 2008, I had made $28,000 or $27,000. I mean, it was that bad. 2009, just as bad in the beginning. In 2009, just as things were starting to get going again, then they came out with HVCC, which was where we lost all relationships with appraisers. We had to go through the AMCs that you guys all know today. And all the values had crashed around us. I mean, here in the Arizona market, we literally saw homes lose 50% of the value. So we didn't have any, even the clean conventional people couldn't refi because their loans were upside down. So it was really a purchase-only clean conventional market. So what did I do? I evolved. I adapted. I call it evolving, or I'm sorry, adapting. Matt today was talking about evolving. Same thing. I had to evolve or adapt to what was in front of me, which was clean conventional business. So from that, I went out there and pounded the pavement. I met every realtor I could. I told everybody in the world what it was I did for a living. And slowly but surely, I built business back. But let me tell you a little story. I'm going to get into weeds here just a second. If any of you were at Fuse a few weeks back, you've heard this story. I apologize if you're sitting through it again. But to give you an idea, if you think 2022 has been rough, a lot of you guys were probably refi-centric brokers, loan officers, and you've watched a lot of that go away. I'm sure there's some people in the room that maybe are having a great year because they're newer to the business, and maybe this is the year they build higher. But I'm guessing probably 80% of you in this room are probably seeing your pipelines and your income a lot lower this year. It's easy to get down. It really is. But let's look back. I'll tell you about 2008 for me. 2007, I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio. That's where I started my career. I'm doing really, really well. I'm doing subprime cash outs, subprime refis. Easy business. First loan I ever wrote in 95 was 125% second mortgage stated, meaning stated income, stated asset, stated value. We didn't even need an appraisal on it. A child could do that loan. You took an application, gave them money. 2007, I moved to Arizona. Arizona's a hot, hot market in that time, and I'm thinking, I'm going to go out in Arizona, I'm going to kill it. I moved out here because I met my future wife. I was in the middle of a divorce in Ohio. I met my future wife through some friends online. So I moved to Arizona. Literally within weeks of moving to Arizona, the whole market started crashing. We started seeing the subprime lenders go out of business. We started seeing prime lenders go out of business. Countrywide was, at that time, like UWM is to you guys today. Anybody who was in the business prior to 2008 remembers Countrywide. They were the lender. Every broker, everybody used Countrywide. They had a huge retail department. They were the Rocket Mortgage or the UWM at the time. Countrywide went out of business. Bank of America had to absorb them. The CEO was facing criminal charges, prison. They went out of business. That's when it was like the oh shit moment. Like, okay, all these crazy subprime lenders are going away. No big deal. But when the Rocket, UWM of the world goes out of business, that's the oh shit moment. That's what it was. So we lost all the business we knew at the time. I'm in a new city, a new state. I know all of 3 people in the state, my girlfriend, soon-to-be wife later down the road, and her 2 friends. Her friend from high school was married to a guy that was in the mortgage business just by dumb luck. He's now my partner. He's the JKS of JKS Mortgage. Jamie, he goes by Jamie, but his name's James Kevin Smith, so that's where JKS Mortgage came from. So we partnered up. And at the same time we're partnering up, I'm literally trying to figure out where my next loan's going to come from. I mean, I literally have no business whatsoever. I'm struggling to find business anywhere I can find it. I'm out there hustling on the street. I'm going to realtor shops. I'm calling on every realtor I can get my hands on. I'm literally, if I'm in line at McDonald's and I hear somebody on the phone behind me talking about housing, I'm turning around and giving them a card. I'm interrupting them and giving them a card. I'm that guy that's bugging everybody to buy a house or talk to me about buying a house. But that works over time. But then in late 2008, as bad as it was getting, and as struggling as we were, my girlfriend at the time, Evie, she had an okay job. She was making enough to pay rent, and that's about all she was making. I wasn't making anything. I'm burning through all my savings from Ohio, from living there. The rest of it's all tied up in our divorce with my ex-wife. And we got to a point in 2008, it was October 2008, we got to the point to where we had no money. I mean, literally our checking account was almost overdrawn. We'd already tapped into Evie's 401k. We'd already cashed mine out. Like I said, everything else is tied up in this divorce I was going through. It got so bad that we literally rolled change that we had in a change drawer and one of them big giant water jugs that we had thrown change in for the previous year that I'd been living there. And we rolled change. And we literally rolled change to buy groceries that week and get gas in her car so she could go to work, because I was working from home, even back then. That pretty much rock bottom. I mean, that was the day that I decided I've got to either get out of the business and find something else to do. I actually thought about for a minute. There was internet sales back then. That was a big thing back then, was internet sales, where you go out and sell ads for internet companies. I actually interviewed at a place, and I'm sitting there interviewing this guy, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? This is not what I do. I'm a mortgage guy. This is what I know. This is what I've done for the last 13 years at that point. So I left the interview. They called me back, and I ignored their calls, because at that point, I'm all in. I'm not getting out of the mortgage business. I love it too much. But I had to make a decision, and that was the moment I decided whatever it was going to take, I was going to make it happen. And I never lose sight of that day. It's really important for everybody in this industry to know what I call it, knowing your why. I think one of the speakers yesterday talked about it. I'm a big guy on knowing your why. Why are you in this business? Why do you do this? Why do you love to do this? What is your reasoning for getting up in the morning and doing what you do? My why to this day is that day when we were rolling change to buy groceries. That was my rock bottom, and I've turned that into my why every day since. And anytime you see me in public at any of these events, there's one thing I always carry with me besides my phone, and that's a roll of quarters. You'll never see me without them. There's a roll of quarters in my pocket at events. There's a roll of quarters in my console of my car. There's a roll of quarters in my toothpaste drawer, or my drawer next to my sink where I keep my toothbrush and toothpaste. Why? What's the first thing you do in the morning besides maybe hit the bathroom is you brush your teeth? I never, ever want to forget why I'm waking up in the morning to do what I do. And my why is I never, ever want to go back to rolling change to buy a damn basket of groceries. So I want to be better. I want to make sure that every day I get a little bit better. Whether it's a little or a lot, every day has to matter. So I use that as my motivation. A lot of you probably have kids. Some of you, that may be your why. Your why is you want to take care of your children. My kids are grown. They're doing fine. Maybe your why is you have your sights set on a new house you want to buy or build, or maybe a new car. Whatever your why is, you have to remember that every day. Put a Post-it note on your phone or your computer. Whatever it takes. For me, it's these roll of quarters that are stationed around my house and in my car. And I know it sounds silly, but it reminds me. I can't go an hour throughout my day without it being a reminder. It's there in my drawer to brush my teeth. It's sitting on my desk. It's in my car console. It's in my pocket. It reminds me why I get up in the morning to do what I do. And if you don't have the passion for this industry, that you can find that why and you can have something that drives you to do it, maybe it's not for you. But you wouldn't be in this room if it wasn't, because you wouldn't have driven here, flown here, spent your money and your time to get here if you didn't love what you do. So use that. Use whatever your why is. And post notes. Do whatever it takes. Post pictures of your kids. Whatever it is that drives you every day to be better, give yourself reminders of that. I'm actually getting kind of sick of carrying quarters. I was at the Fuse party that UWM threw about 3 weeks ago in Vegas, and I had these pants on that didn't have front pockets. And I'd given this speech on stage in front of about 3,000 people that day. And wouldn't you know it, like 25 people came up and said, "Let me see the roll of quarters." I'm like, shit. Okay. I'm the answer your damn phone guy. I better answer my phone, and now I'm the roll of quarters guy that better have his quarters. So I'm actually, I've got, you don't see them, but I've got a lot of tattoos. So actually, in a week, I'm getting a roll of quarters tattooed on my arm. then I can never get away from it. Never. But also, I can wear pants and don't have pockets. So, but anyway, so that's my why. But let's get back to building these relationships. I want to tell you that story because I want you to know, no matter how bad 2022 has been to you, I hope it's not been so bad that you had to roll change to buy groceries. So it might be bad, but I bet it's not that bad. And if it is that bad, okay, use that. That should be your motivation to never be that broke again in your life. But find your why. Now, here's what I did to get out of that slump or out of that hole that I was in back in 2008. Not only did everywhere I went, I had business cards on me. And here I'm going to be hypocritical again. If you ask me for a card after I get off stage, I don't have any cards on me. I had some on me. I've already given them out. But everywhere you go, if you don't have at least 10 or 12 or 15 realtors calling you and giving you business, then you need to go out and get some realtors. And if you have 10 or 15 or 20, you need 30 or you need 40. But go out there, everywhere you go, remind people what you do. The valet out here, if you valet parked, when you tip them, give them your card. The dealer at the blackjack table, tip them, give them your card. The cashier at McDonald's, maybe she can't buy a house in Arizona with $10 an hour or whatever they make nowadays, but maybe she's married to a guy, or maybe she's got a mother and father or somebody looking for a house. Who knows, her sister. Maybe that's her part-time job and she actually works as a mechanical engineer somewhere making $100,000 a year. Who knows? I don't care who they are. Give them your card. Tell them what you do. There's no way that there can be too many people in this world that knows what you do. It can't be possible. You're never going to say, oh shit, 1,000 people know what I do. I don't want that many people knowing what I do. Yes, you do. So give your cards out. Tell everybody, scream it at the top of your lungs what you do. And that's what I did back in 2008. And then I took it a step further. You know, realtors get called every day for coffee. Ring, hey, this is Todd at JKS Mortgage, can we go to coffee this week? I'd love to take you to coffee. I'd love to tell you about my loan products. I'd love to tell you how great I am. Blah. They're getting 1,000, okay, I won't exaggerate. They're getting at least 5 of those calls every week. One of the big coaching firms out there, which I'm not a big fan of, promotes Marketing Monday. They tell you, make 20 realtor calls every Monday. And they've got hundreds, if not thousands, of people in their coaching program. My realtors hate Mondays because their voicemail gets full. And their voicemail is not full of people wanting to buy houses. Their voicemail is full of loan officers saying, hey, Tara, can we go to coffee? This is Todd at JKS. They hate it. There's nothing you're going to do on that phone call that's going to be different than the 19 guys that called before you, or gals. Forget coffee. Forget it. If they're a good realtor, they'll buy their own damn coffee, and they'll buy their own lunch or dinner. Find a different way to reach them. Be different. Be outside the box. I love Apple and Steve Jobs. I'm a big Apple guy. Love Steve Jobs, and I've read everything about him. I loved watching him when he was alive. Apple had an ad campaign called Think Different. And that's what you have to do. You have to think different on how to meet these realtors. There's a gazillion ways to do this business. There's no right or wrong way. The right way is what works. What works for me doesn't work for everybody. I don't do VA loans. I don't have a problem with VA loans. It's just not my thing. I have a guy that works for me that I give FHA and VA loans to. It's just not my thing. Nothing wrong with that. It's just I focus on the conventional clean stuff. I see Leroy sitting there. He's laughing at me going, I make a fortune off of VA loans. It's because it works for him. Doesn't work for me. My way probably doesn't work for him. There's no right or wrong answer, guys. The right answer is the one that works and the one you're going to execute. So go out there and tell everybody what you do. Give your business cards out. But find a different way to meet them realtors. Now, here's what I did. And you guys can use some of this, but please don't use it if you're local here in Arizona, because I've done it. I've got other people already doing it underneath me. But in 2008, I decided, how was I going to talk to realtors without getting blown off and them thinking that I was just another guy asking for coffee? I started calling realtors and I started telling them, hey, this is Todd at JKS Mortgage. I'm not calling to get any business out of you, I promise. I'm doing a survey. I'm compiling data on the state of the mortgage and real estate business because we're in this little bit of a crisis right now, and I'm doing a survey. And I started calling realtors saying this and say, do you have a minute to answer 5 simple questions? Most of them were like, yeah, sure. You know, as soon as they heard me say I wasn't trying to ask them to coffee or get business out of them, they were like, yeah, okay, whatever. Some of them hung up on me, and some of them just told me they didn't have time. And then I went through a series of just basic questions. Like, I think the first question on the list was, what is it about your current loan officers that you refer business to that you like about them, or something along those lines? And then they would tell me. Next question would be, what's the one thing that you wish your loan officer partners did better or they aren't doing now that you wish they would do? And then I went into another question about what kind of volume. The next 3 questions were bullshit questions. They didn't matter. It was just to fill up space. I think it was like, what kind of volume do you do? What kind of loans do you typically do? Yada, yada. What kind of areas do you do business in? But the first 2 questions are all I cared about. What were they doing that was right, and what were they doing that was wrong? I didn't talk to 100. I like to tell people I talked to 100. I think I talked to like 80-some people over like a couple-month period of time. Now, when I ended the conversation, I always say, when I get done compiling this data, I'm going to give you a call back to present you what we found. And most of them were like, oh, yeah, great, I'd love to hear it. Number one thing I heard that they liked was also the number one thing I heard that they hated: communication. The realtors that had glowing things to say about their current loan partners were telling me that their loan officers answered their phone when they called. It didn't matter if it was nights. It didn't matter if it was weekends. It didn't matter when it was. They could get a hold of their loan officer, and that's what mattered to them. Number one thing they hated was the ones that didn't have loan partners like that. The number one thing I heard was, I wish my loan officer was more available. I'm out there working nights and weekends, and I can never get a hold of the guy, or he won't call me back until the next morning when he's working. Number one thing, almost everybody said that except for the ones that loved their loan officers, which wasn't that many, by the way. So I used that, and that's what eventually became Answer Your Damn Phone, by the way. But back in 2009, it just became my driving force. I would call them back a couple weeks later, say, look, I got my reports all ready to go. I didn't have a report. It was all bullshit. There was no report. I told them there was a report, and I'd call them back a few weeks later and say, hey, you know, after compiling this, it sounds like the number one thing everybody cares about is having a good open line of communication with their loan officer, and that the loan officer is available. And also that you want your loan officer to communicate bad news before it becomes aged, meaning that the appraisal comes in low, you want to know immediately, not 3 days later after the loan officer has argued with the appraiser. So bad news up front, communication, communication, communication. I can't stress that enough. You know, the old cliche in real estate is location, location, location. For our side of the coin, it's communication, communication, communication. If you can't communicate on a regular basis consistently with your real estate partners, you're doing this business wrong. And it doesn't matter if it's me doing conventional or Leroy doing VA or anybody else in this room. Even if you're a refi-only person that's still out there finding cash outs or something, you better be communicating to that customer, even if there is no realtor. We can't over-communicate. Now, we touched on this briefly yesterday, and Joey had mentioned it, and I had said something about it on stage yesterday, about listing agents. So not only did I call these realtors back and learn some of their hates and loves and everything else, I used that when I called them back to say, hey, by the way, I know I wasn't trying to sell you on doing loans with you, but I've heard your concerns, and if you ever want to give me a shot, I will be available for you 24/7. I don't care if it's Christmas Eve at midnight, I'll answer your phone. I know it's an exaggeration, but if Christmas Eve at midnight, if one of my realtors that's stored in my phone calls, and I know it's not some spam call, I'll take the call. What's the hurt? Maybe my wife gets a little pissed off. She'll be okay when that call turns into a $5,000 commission and she gets a new Chanel bag, so she'll be okay, you know? I mean, think about every phone call, how much money's on the other end of that call. Might be zero, might be 5 or 6 grand. So never miss those calls. But that's what I told every single one of those realtors I was doing my little survey with, was I'll be that guy if you ever want to use me. I still didn't really ask for a push for the business, but you know what? They remembered me. They remembered I was the guy that did the survey, yada, yada. My name was in front of them, and then it gave me an opportunity to market to them later with drip campaign emails, and then like a call about every 6 weeks. Or I didn't even call them that often, like maybe 4 to 6 weeks. After the initial, hey, I got the survey results, I would call them about once a month, once every 6 weeks, but I would do like a drip campaign on an email like every 2 weeks or so. I didn't want to overdo it. And it worked. I actually picked up some realtors that way. I picked up like 4 or 5 realtors within the first 6 months of 2009. Partially because some of the other loan officers had left the business, but partially because they liked my hustle. They liked the fact that they knew I was going to be there for them when they needed me. And then that goes into what I was just going to say about listing agents. Every single time one of my agents makes an offer on a house, they CC me on the offer, and in the email where it'll say like, you know, Brad, you know, this is the offer my customer Mary Smith is making on 123 Main Street that you have listed for $300,000 or whatever they say in their emails. The last sentence of that email will say, by the way, I've CC'd the lender on this file, Todd Bitter with JKS Mortgage. I've worked with him for several years, and he does a great job. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Todd. Realtors know. Every realtor I deal with, except for one, does this on every single listing, every single purchase offer to a listing agent. I have one agent that refuses to do it. I don't even want to talk about why. He's just stuck in his ways, and he does like 2 deals a year with me, so I don't really care. But every single realtor I do business with, other than him, does this in their emails. Within minutes of that email coming through that I'm tagged on, I reply to that email, and I say, Brad, Todd at JKS Mortgage, I'm the loan officer that pre-qualified these people, and I'm the loan officer that's going to be doing the loan for Mary. I can already tell you, I've already verified assets, income, credit, blah, 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 you know, the routine. By the way, if you have any other questions, please give me a call. I would love to talk about Mary's qualifications. And I'll leave it at that. I then wait about 4 or 5 hours, and I call Brad. If he hasn't already reached out to me, half the time, I get an email back really quickly thanking me for my email. Sometimes I get a call right back saying, hey, thanks for the email. By the way, you had DU approval, you have this, you have that. But the ones that don't get back to me first, about 4 hours later, I call them. I've never had an agent get mad that I call them. Never. Some of them are, okay, great, thanks. I appreciate the info. I got your email. We're good. Half of them will literally, to this day, half of them will say, wow, you're the only guy I've got, not maybe this year, but last year, I'll have them say, wow, you know, I've got 30 offers on this house, and you're the only guy that's called me. I literally have had buyers' agents say, your phone call got us the deal. There was multiple offers. We were similar to 3 other offers, and they came back to us with a counter because they liked that you called them and they felt comfortable with you as the loan officer. Listing agents are extremely valuable to you guys. Now, I know there's a lot of loan officers that hate to deal with realtors. If you don't like to deal with realtors, this year is the year that would smack you in the face and say, you better learn how to like them because the refis are basically dead right now. If you're making a good living off of refis this year, hallelujah. You know, you should be up here on stage telling me what you're doing because, let's face it, the refi business has been decimated by rates this year. I'm doing a few, of course, here and there, people that are desperate for cash. But you got to change your mindset. Loan officers that complain about realtors, say realtors are evil. I was there in 2007 and the 90s and whatever. I mean, Oh, they won't get out of there. They stay in my lane. They tell me what to do. They bug me. They're always combative with me. You know why they're combative with you? Because you're not communicating properly with you. If you're communicating properly with them and they feel comfortable with you, you will find the experience with realtors to be joyful. They will treat you with respect. They will be nice to you. And you know what? The couple that won't be nice to you and won't treat you with respect, that's okay. You don't have to work with them. But I was just outside at lunch telling her that I have one realtor in particular that drives me crazy. To this day, she's been in the business for, I think, 37 years or 38 years or whatever it's been. She's that grouchy old realtor that's the stereotype that we all hate. Her name's Jill. Hopefully nobody in this room knows which Jill I'm talking about. She's just difficult. But you know what? I close on average 6 to 7 loans a year with her from her referrals. So Jill is putting, I don't know, $30,000 a year in my pocket. I can take a little bit of her not so nice phone calls every now and then. I can take a little bit of her condescending attitude every now and then. I mean, it's, again, on a low end, probably 20 grand a year. On the high end, 40 grand a year. I mean, I'm probably averaging about 30 grand a year commissions in my pocket from her. You know, look, if you're a cashier at McDonald's making minimum wage, it's hard to deal with combative customers. You're in this business and making $20, $30, $40, $50,000 a year, you can suck it up and be nice to Jill or Karen's or whatever you want to call them. Okay? I mean, I'm not saying you can let her just physically abuse you or mentally abuse you, but you know what? Over the years, I've learned to deal with her. And when she starts, I can put her back in line, pretty quickly. I can just, because we've built that rapport. In the beginning, I could not stand working with her. But you're going to have realtors like that, but you can't look at them all from that perspective, because most of them, you know what their number one worry is? They're caring about their customers. They don't care about you. They care about their customer. Now, does anybody in this room think that that's not their job? I mean, their job is to care about their customer. You are just a tool to get their customer's house sold or their house bought. And if you're not properly communicating with that realtor, they're going to get a little testy if they don't feel like they're getting the information out of you that they need on a regular basis. I make a point in calling the listing agent and buyer's agent too, but I'm assuming you have a relationship with the buyer's agent at this point. So the listing agent and the buyer's agent, I make a phone call every single week. I usually do it on Fridays. Today I'm not doing it because I'm here. I'll probably do my calls tomorrow morning. But any deals I have working that are under contract, at the end of every week, I give a quick phone call. Even if there's no new updates, I'll call the listing agent and the buyer's agent and say, hey, want you to know, the Pike deal that's closing next week, everything's still good, docs are already out, blah, 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 or hey, the Pike deal is closing in 3 weeks, we just got the appraisal order, we'll probably have it back next week. I just give them a quick verbal update every Friday. They love that. And you know what it does? Is it stops the condescending phone calls back. It stops the not so nice emails back. Because in the end, that's all they want. They just want to know where things are in the process with their loans. In Arizona, we have these things called loan status updates, which we're supposed to do every week. It's a form. Not very many states use it. I send those out every Friday, and I still make a phone call. So if you're in Arizona, I do the LSU and the phone call both. Often in the middle of the week, even though I'm going to call a realtor on Friday, if I got the appraisal in on Tuesday, I make a phone call on Tuesday and Friday still. Again, you can't over-communicate. I'll call Tuesday, say, hey, I want to let you know, the deal on Main Street that you have listed, we just got the appraisal back. It's all good. Value came in at what we needed. I don't tell them the value. I just say it came in at what we needed. I go from there. If it comes in low, I immediately send it to the buyer's agent, tell the buyer's agent. I don't call the listing agent because that is not my job to tell a listing agent what the value was. I let the buyer's agent call the listing agent and say, hey, it came in low. Here's a copy of it. Let's talk about it. Once I know that the buyer's agent has talked to the listing agent about a low appraisal, then I call the listing agent and say, hey, I know that Jill called you and sent you the copy of the appraisal. I know it's about $6,000 light. I just want to let you know I went through all the comps. It looks like it's the right value, but if you have better comps, please get them to me so I can dispute it. And immediately open up the dialogue about disputing the appraisal. So even then, I've talked to them before my weekly call on Friday. Again, you cannot over-communicate with a realtor. You just can't do it. So that's where I've gotten a lot of my business, is from realtors that were on listing sides. A lot of my top realtors, in fact, the one I was just kind of giving you a hard time about, Jill, she was a listing agent on a deal that I met. I think I met her in 2010 or 11, and I've been dealing with her ever since. But she was a listing agent on a deal. And she was so happy that I was in communication with her every step of the way. And being that kind of hard to deal with realtor, she probably was used to getting pushback from loan officers that didn't want to give her updates on a regular basis. So I won her over. She's still condescending to me, but I won her over. And again, over the last 10, 11 years, I don't know. I mean, she's probably put $250,000 in my pocket or something like that. So pretty good return for taking just a tiny little bit of verbal abuse every now and then. You know, you want to give me $250,000, you can come up here and slap me around if you want. I mean, but the point is that communication, you cannot communicate enough with these people. That's all they want. They only care about their client, and they should. So be that person that's helping them. Don't be their adversary. You'll never win realtor business by being their adversary. No realtors ever say, I want to work with you because you told me off. So the other thing that I've used over the years, and this was a huge one for me, back in 2009 and 10, when I was still struggling to get business and I was digging out of a financial hole, I started going to title companies. First of all, you can't walk into a realtor's office and expect to meet realtors. They're never there. They go into their office occasionally. Yeah, you walk into any Keller Williams, Remax, whatever the, name any of them, HomeSmart, any of them, you might catch a realtor or two there, but you're not going to catch them all in the office together working. They just aren't there. There's one, well, I won't even say that. There's no realtors there always in the office. There's one agency in town that has all their agents in town on a Tuesday every week, but they're not the normal agency. So, and we'll talk about them in a minute. But I went to all the title companies I could find in town, and there's a bunch in this town. Because you know what? The title people are in the office. They don't have the luxury of working from home. Now, some of them do in this environment since COVID, but the offices are still staffed. Your escrow officers are usually in the office. I started taking, in Scottsdale, we have this place called Sprinkles Cupcakes. I think they originated in LA at one time, but bougie cupcakes, like $4 and something a piece, and they're like really damn good cupcakes, by the way. Nowadays, we also have crumble cookies, which my wife's a big fan of. It doesn't matter. I used to take sprinkle cupcakes in to a couple times a week. I couldn't afford to do more than a couple times a week. But a couple times a week, I'd take in about $30 worth of sprinkle cupcakes to a title office. And I would just go in and say, hey, you guys don't know me. I'm Todd at JKS Mortgage. Hopefully we'll get to work together someday. I want to bring you these cupcakes just to show you, that I just want to be nice and bring you something. Hope you like them. Here's a bunch of my cards. If any of your agents ever need a referral, I'd love to work with your agents if you ever hear of any of your agents that need help because they're not getting the service they like. And by the way, I'm hoping we'll work together. I mean, hopefully we'll come across each other. Some of them I already knew. And I would also kind of hint around that maybe I'd give them some refi business in the future. But I got to know a ton of escrow officers in town. Literally, if you called 50 escrow officers in Phoenix right now and brought my name up, I bet you 40, 45 of them know who I am. Because over the years, I still reach out to escrow officers every week. I've made a point in befriending escrow officers in this business. Because guess what? Who is the first person to hear when a realtor's pissed off that docs are not at title or funds have not been released for a recording? It's the escrow officer. They're the ones calling the realtor saying, hey, what's wrong with your guy? We're supposed to be signing in 3 hours and we don't have docs. Or, hey, what's wrong with your guy? The customer signed yesterday, and we're funding and recording today because we're a dry state here. We don't have funds, you know? So the escrow officer is in contact with that realtor nonstop when there's problems. That escrow officer and that realtor have a relationship, or they wouldn't have written that escrow officer into the contract. Unless the seller's like Open Door OS National, you know, or OfferPad that makes you use a title company. Somebody, whether it's a list agent or a buyer's agent, knows that title company, or they wouldn't have written it into the contract. So there's a relationship there. So expand on that relationship by building a relationship with the escrow officer. Now, I'm almost out of time, so I'm going to tell you real quickly how that pays off. December 2016. A girl named Kim over at Old Republic Title, she's not there anymore, she's at a different title company now, loves me. I've dealt with Kim for years. Me and her have a great relationship. She really likes working with me because she knows I'm always on time, I'm easy to work with. She has a branch, not a team leader in her office for this real estate company called Redfin. At the time, I didn't know what the hell Redfin was. I heard they were a tech company. I thought they were Open Door, OfferPad, or Zillow. Didn't know anything about them. Lori Johnson is a team lead for Redfin. She's been giving her business to a guy at Academy Mortgage. That week, she had 2 loans that did not fund on time with Kim at Old Republic that were both with the same loan officer at Academy Mortgage that she'd been dealing with for years. She's pissed off. If you, maybe one or two of you know Lori, I'm not sure. She can be a little bit of a ball buster, but I love her. She was mad. And Kim said, you know what? You're always complaining about blank at Academy Mortgage. You should try Todd. I just closed a loan with Kim that day, by the way, with another realtor, not a Redfin realtor. And Kim gave Lori my card and said, you should call Todd. You'll like working with this guy. You're not going to have these problems with this guy. Trust me on this. I get a call the next day from this girl named Lori from Redfin. Like, okay, I don't know what Redfin is, and I don't know who Lori is, but okay, great, it's a realtor. Had no idea the scope of what Redfin would be. At this time, they were a little bitty office in Tempe that had, I think, 6 agents. This is December 2016. Started talking to Lori. She refers me a customer in early January, closed it in like 2.5 weeks. It went super, super smooth. Everybody was happy. She refers another customer to me, another customer. By April, I've closed 3 loans with her. She's now promoted to head of the Phoenix market for Redfin, and she asked me to come into her office to speak to her agents. That was April 2017. That office now went from 6 agents. Lori's long gone from there, by the way, but that office now, instead of 6 agents, it has like 30 agents, and I get business from probably 10 or 11 of them on a regular basis. December 2016, first loan, January 17, went into her office April 7 of 17. In June of 22, just 4 or 5 months ago, whatever it was, I closed my 700th loan with that Redfin office. You can do the math. On average, you know, just do the math. My comp, by the way, is 1.5%. It's always been that way. 700 loans, 1.5%. In Greater Phoenix, the loan amount that I averaged over this last 5 or 6 years has been about 350. Right now, it's over 400,000, but it was about 350,000 for most of that period. Tell me that wasn't the greatest payoff in the world of when I first met Kim with a $30 box of cupcakes. I mean, Redfin has put millions in my pocket over the last 5 years, and that's no joke. And I know like Jeff DuPont and a few people here know about my Redfin connection. Probably drives them a little crazy because I know they try to get business out of there too, and they do a good job. But I think it was, Jeff, I think you were the one that says I have the office locked down over there, but I do. I have a great reputation at Redfin, and it's all about communication. And it doesn't matter if it's Redfin. It could be Redfin. It could be Remax. It could be HomeSmart. Go out there and find that realtor group that's going to just be your company, that's going to love you and respect you and give you business. And it starts with finding a way to get in the door. My way was through a title company. There's other ways to do it with, cupcakes or whatever. But you have to find your way to get in those offices and do it differently. So think differently, constantly evolve the way you're meeting realtors, and trust me, you will be fine. This is not 2008. We're going to see rates fall next year, and you guys are going to clean up, but go out there and meet your realtors today so that the next year, you're doing refis and purchases both. And they're yelling at me to get off stage, so I'm going to leave you guys with that. Remember, find your why. My why is these quarters. Your why is maybe whatever. Find your why. Treat others with respect. Be always willing to help out other loan officers. Most of you know I don't work for Nexa. I'm just here to help out because Mike likes me and knows that I am willing to help. I'm trying to help you guys get better, and half of you are my competition here locally. So, if any of you take a loan from me because of what I've said on stage, tell me, because that's the coolest thing ever. If I taught you how to beat me, that's a compliment. So, again, find your why. And the final thing I'm going to leave you with, answer your damn phone. Thanks, guys.